as a director product engineering with the Shader in Germany, and he successfully completed ISTQB advanced level test manager certification, and he also has done ISTQB agile testing, and he's mainly working in the field of e-commerce, content management, gaming, and aviation sector. I think my words won't be enough to introduce the great personality with us from right from Germany. With you all, dear student, although it is early morning there, but sir has just waked up for you people to share his rich experience of his journey in the field of quality management. And believe me, quality management is one of the most important, I say, domain for any organization to grow. And my dear students, I think be it any management course or engineering course, the course is incomplete if you are not having in-depth knowledge of a field that is quality control and quality management. So, dear Vivek, before we start further, I extend my gratitude, first of all, to you for sparing your valuable time early morning from Germany to my students in India. Thank you so much for accepting the small call invitation and giving us confirmation for your enriched experience you are going to share with my students. And without coming in between you and my students, I was just waiting for the number to be 100, and it's 99. So let us just start the session now. Over to you, Vivek. It's a privilege for all of us that we will be hearing you. And I'm very sure the session is going to be very interactive, dear students. You can interact with sir through chat box, whatever are your doubts. It is a privilege for you all that such an experienced person is with you all. Listen to him very carefully, try to learn, try to imbibe the things sir wants to share with you in your learning perspective. And I'm very confident that once you will be able to connect to his experiences, you will be able to enrich your knowledge. Thank you so very much, and over to you, Vivek. Thank you.
Thank you, Prerna. I think you can hear me crystal clear now, hopefully.
Voice is not very clear, Vivek. I think you will have to keep it closer.
Okay. Now is it
better.
clear?
Perfect.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. And here I would like to give you a brief overview about quality assurance. There are like a lot of good practices, and I will just include my experience as well, what I learned during these experience or during these years. And mainly I work with software development or software quality assurance. So I will give you a brief overview about all these practices and how we can do better. But if we are talking about other products like some products, then it will be similar. So as you can see, there is a quote: quality is never an accident. It is always a result of high intention and sincere effort. So quality cannot be achieved without good effort. And you have to always like follow up. You have to test all these things very, very rigorously, and then you can achieve a very good quality. And during the presentation, you can just put your questions in the chat, and then I will try to address those questions. So next, yeah. So why quality assurance is important? So there are like 5 important aspects that why everyone wants to get a quality product. So first thing is that it meets customer expectation. So whatever product you are using, it's not about like software, but if you are talking about other products, then you always seek that whatever results you would like to achieve, you will just achieve by like what it is intent to do, what this product is intent to do. So this is very, very important aspect. Apart from that, it is really, really critical for business, because nowadays there is no monopoly of all these products. If you are using, or if you are consumer, you will have like a lot of choices. So if some company or organization is not putting good effort in quality assurance, then they are out of the business. So it is really, really important to cover that aspect. Second is it builds reputation. So if you talk about like top tier, top quality products, there are a lot of examples available, and these quality products cannot be achieved without ensuring quality assurance practices. So it is very, very important. And then fourth aspect is it meets standard. So um, for example, if you are developing some product related to healthcare or related to aviation sector, so just imagine if that product is not working as expected, then it's like the life can be stake, or there are a lot of problems can come, or people can die. So to make sure this particular thing, you have to comply all the standards. And so I will cover all these aspects later on as well, but it meets standards. And five, last but not least, if you are following some quality assurance, then it is a kind of cost effective approach, because quality assurance can be exhaustive, or testing can be exhaustive practice as well. uh, because there is a no limit to test some product, and you have to stop somewhere. So I think optimal amount of effort is required in order to comply, or in order to achieve quality product. So, what is quality assurance in general? So, it's a procedure to ensure the quality of software product. It also focuses on improving the software development process and making it efficient and effective as per quality standard. So, it's a kind of evolving process where you are ensuring that you are delivering quality software products to the end user or consumer, and it's a kind of iterative process. So there is a like saying that a PDCA cycle. So it calls like plan, do, check, act. So it's kind of iterative process where you cannot achieve quality in one cycle but multiple cycles. For example, if you tested something first time and then you found some observations, then again you have to correct those things, and then you have to learn from that mistakes or these observations, and then you have to do multiple rounds, and then at the end that problem will be solved. And what is quality control? So, quality control is a software engineering process to ensure quality in a product. It normally happens when product is ready to be shipped. So, quality control is when product is ready to deliver to it is open to market, and before that you would like to ensure that whether the product is fulfilling all the requirements or not. So you will just do random checks. So as you can see in this picture, this person is doing quality assurance, quality control, because it is just checking the quality of apple. So it's a kind of like just example. And what is the difference between quality assurance and quality control? So, quality assurance mainly focuses on process. So, when you are developing some product, then you will just try to streamline the process to deliver better quality. And quality control is when product is already ready and you're just checking that what has been done, or is this product is really good to use. And second aspect is that when this product is building up, then it's a kind of quality assurance is a proactive approach to stop, to prevent the defects. So you can just think about like there is one full process, and if these processes are not working out, then you have to evolve. And in quality control, it is for preventing defects. So suppose if one of the product is not meeting the requirement, then it will not go to the end market. So this is the main difference between quality assurance and quality control. There is one question that, yeah, I think Kajal is asking that uh, about cost approach. So there is always like some kind of estimate you do, when like what kind of estimate you will put, or what kind of effort you would like to put in testing. So it should always be optimal. So like for example, the total development cost is 100%, and then you will just estimate that what is the optimized cost for testing, or how much effort you would like to put in testing. So maybe 10%, 12%, and within that you have to achieve a very good quality. And the next point is key points of quality assurance. So these are the five important aspect in quality assurance. First thing is testing processes, then second is test management, third is reviews, and fourth is defect management, and fifth one is people skill. I will cover these aspects in detail.
Vivek, your voice is not audible here. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Yes.
Okay, no problem. So these are the five, six important aspect of testing process. So first is test planning, monitoring, and control. Second is test analysis. So in test planning, you just think about like how you will test those things. There are some proper practices to follow, or you will just think about like when this product is functional, or some part of that product is functional, how you will test it. So there are like a lot of complex processes are involved. I will just cover them in detail as well. So second aspect is test analysis. So again, you will think about product, because product is not right now available, and there are some strategies to follow. So these things you have to do. Then test design and implementation. Basically this particular part is including the writing test cases, or what will be your approach. And then fourth is test execution. When some part of this product is available for testing, then how you will perform testing. Fifth one is evaluating criteria and reporting. So again, like how many iterations you would like to do to make sure that product is successfully delivered and there are no bugs. And then sixth one is test closure activities. So after when you are done with testing, then you will just think about like what kind of deliverables you will do. So these things I will cover in detail. So for example, just imagine if we have to deliver a e-commerce application uh, in software. So this is a kind of basic architecture, and there like there are some mobile users, so we will deliver mobile app. And then there are browser users, which will open our product using browser. And there are multiple services like account db, inventory db, shipping db, and these are services, and these will be communicating each other to deliver the good experience to the user. And these all are happening via REST API, the communication. So this is just a basic layout so that we can think about that how we work or how we can achieve quality assurance. So these are like, uh, just imagine that this is not going to available in one hand. So maybe account service is available first. Then we have to test independently that this account service is working as expected or not. It's not like no UI and nothing, and we have to just make sure that whether this account service is able to deliver us what we are expecting or not. And then communication between all these services. So here, the breakup of all these stages. So first is thing is test planning. So the first important aspect of test planning is you have to identify testing artifacts. So what are the testing artifacts in this particular example? One is inventory service, then second is account service, third is shipping service. So these are like independent services. If those things will be functional, then only we can achieve a proper functional product. And then fourth is UI testing. So what user is observing when he is interacting with this e-commerce website, how he is ordering, or what kind of products he can view. There are a lot of questions. And then fifth important aspect is integration between these services, that how these services are communicating each other. And then about some non-functional testing. What are non-functional testing are like, is it really performant? So for like one user, it is working perfectly fine. But just imagine if there are 10 users, then it is not able to deliver. And there are like a lot of lags when you are using this product. And then last but not least, you have to think about security testing as well, because like there are a lot of hackers available. They can just steal the valuable information of your users. So you have to think about that as well. Then it includes monitor and control activities as well. So what is monitoring? Monitoring is like at one particular point of time, if your management is asking like how much it is done, so you should able to tell that these things are done. So you have to communicate properly and you have to give the status. And if it is not clear or if monitoring tool is not in place, then it is really hard to gauge that how much it is covered. And then control activities. What are control activities? Control activities are like you plant something, but it is not working out because of some unknown reasons. So you have to adapt the test planning and you have to put all the control activities in place. So to do that, you have to always think about these things, that if something is not working, what will be your action? So it's a kind of live document, I would say, the test planning process, and it's iterative. If something is changed, then test planning also needs to be adapted. The next phase, test analysis. So in test analysis, you are just talking about complexity of these services, how these services will communicate. Then you will also think about that what things are out of scope. For example, like there are a lot of third-party payment services which you are integrating with this e-commerce website. So you will not test them directly, and you are just a user or consumer of those third party independent services. So these are not like you are responsible and you will just put them out of scope. And then there are some other thinkable points, like what you will do. Will you provide like a lot of detailed documentation or not? There are a lot of questions. For example, you will just evolve, or you will just try to find out that what are the security requirements, and how we can review those requirements, how you will check the completeness that your testing is done. So these things are done in this test analysis phase. There are some other things as well, like if you have to comply with standards, then documentation plays a very important part, and you have to complete those. Then third stage is design and implementation. So in this particular step, you will design the test cases. You will think about like what kind of test data you would like to use, and you will prioritize those tests. You will set up the test environment with the help of development team. You will also identify test cases for automation. What is automation? Automation is when like human brains are not working on these products. There are some automation is fulfilling or replacing these human brains, and they are doing some checks. So you have to identify some test cases for automation as well. Then you have to design integration tests. What is integration tests? So integration test is when two or more services are interacting with each other, and then how they are reacting. So for example, here there are three services. Well, first is account service, inventory service, and shipping service. So you have to make sure that if two or more services are interacting each other, then how it is working. So this is called integration testing. And system testing is that when user is ordering something, so user do not worry about what are the services or how it works. They really want end result. So to achieve that end result, uh, you have to see that how these service altogether are working. Then, last but not least, you have to start developing automation tests for regression testing. What is regression testing? Is that when product is done, so you will test certain tests, and then if you found a bug, then again it will be on development side. They will fix that bug, and again you have to test that. So you should have a regression suite to make sure that because of this bug, the things which were working are not stopped. So that is the main significance of regression testing, and the main aim of regression testing is that all features are working as expected. Then test execution. Here you are just performing all the execution, and you are monitoring testing status. You also have to set up automation pipeline. What is automation pipeline? Automation pipeline is that these tests you are not running locally. It will be running in some organizational infrastructure. It can be cloud, or it can be independent test machine. So there you have to set up all these automation pipeline that when a product is ready for testing, then you can just trigger those automation tests. Then again, as like non-functional aspects are also important, so you will run load and performance tests as well. What is exploratory testing? Exploratory testing is that you are not following any procedure, and you are testing the application based on your experience. Then you will raise all the defects during this test execution phase, and you will give a final status that these many defects are identified to development team. Then evaluating exit criteria and reporting. So as I mentioned that testing can be exhausting and there is no limit. So you have to find some kind of protocol just to evaluate that, yeah, now we should stop. So these are the examples. For example, like if all your test cases are passed, then it means that it is completing all the requirement, and then we can stop the testing. Or second aspect can be like high priority defects are closed. Then if there are no defect, you can stop that testing. So these are all monitoring points where you can say that, yeah, everything is done. And then you have to give final status to your stakeholders. So you need some kind of report template to give that testing status to upper management. And then last but not least is test closure activity. So there you are just sending release notes to your end user. You are sending known issues because no product is bug free. So there are some issues, but those are not like high priority issues. Those are like slight issues, but you have to put this in release notes. And if your product is done with the development, then you will hand over these testing artifacts to maintenance team, and then you will do retrospective, where you will just think about like what went wrong, how we can improve, because the whole practice is iterative. So for next time, you will just put some important points where you can improve. Then second aspect is test management. So test management is like how you are managing your testing. So there are like lot of multiple approach, and one approach is risk-based testing. So what is risk-based testing is, you will just think about what are the prominent risk if we are delivering this product. So you will just sit down with development team, all stakeholders, project managers, and it's a kind of like combined meeting to evaluate that what are the possible risks. And once all these risks are documented, then you will just think about these risks, and how you can mitigate these risks. So to mitigate that risk, you have to put some actions, and then you will slowly evolve to the final product. Once that all risks are addressed and mitigated, then start with then we can just release the product. Then second important aspect is test documentation. So again, as I mentioned, that if there are some standards involved, or if you are developing medical, healthcare, or aviation related softwares, then you have to put test documentation, because standards need to be compliant, and you have to showcase that you tested all these things. Third is test estimation and metrics. So you have to put estimation that how much effort it will take, and there should be some kind of test metrics in place. I will cover all these things in detail as well in my next slide. I would like to ask, do you have any question as of now? Hello? Okay. So if there are no questions, then I will continue. So next slide. So what we will do in test management practice. So first thing is, you will understand the software development cycle. So there are a lot of software cycles, development cycles in place. So first thing is waterfall model. So what waterfall model is, that all your requirement in place, and then you're just developing the software, and it is like one full cycle where development is one stage, second stage is testing, and then final product is done. And then second software development cycle is iterative. There are like multiple approaches. In iterative, there are short cycles, and you will just think about only one tiny component of full product. And then so you have to this is a very important aspect, that you have to understand the software development cycle, that what software approaches we are following, and based on that you have to align test management practice. Second is understanding the stakeholders. So you should really care about that, what kind of product we are developing, what are the needs, and then based on that you have to develop test management practices. Then third is alignment of test activities. So as it should be aligned with software development process, so you will align all these test activities with software development. Then fourth option is how you will manage non-functional testing, or how you will include experience-based testing. So these are important aspect of test management practice in general. I think Monu asked that what is UI testing? So UI testing is user interface testing, where like you are just checking the screen, and you are checking that if all these components are well in place, if those are interactable or not. So what users see, that is UI, and you are performing testing against UI. So next is risk-based testing and other approaches. So as I mentioned briefly, what is risk-based testing? So there are like 4 steps. First is risk identification, then risk assessment, then how you will mitigate, and then how you are managing those risks. So this is the first most popular technique. And then second is requirement based testing. In requirement based testing, you will just stress all the requirements, and then you will try to check that whether all these requirements are done or not. Then test prioritization and effort allocation. So you will prioritize some test cases, and you will put some effort when you have like full test suite available. Then third is test documentation. I think I already covered this. So these are like important aspect. One is test plan. These are important deliverables which we have to complete. Just a minute. I have to drink water. So give me a minute. So there are like 6 important deliverables. So first is test plan. Second is release notes. Third is test schedule, that how you'll perform all these testing, test cases, then known issues, and regression test suite. So as I already covered all these things in my example. So first thing is there are some other aspects as well, and these are like risk-based testing. Then you also have to evaluate the business value of testing. So what is business value of testing is that it is always like it should be optimal effort. Nobody would like to put lot of effort in in only in testing, because development and testing all together achieves a final product. So uh, they always keen that how much budget is allowed and how much you can invest in testing. So there should be some kind of optimized testing approach. And then fifth is distributed, outsource, and in-source testing. So there are like multiple advantage and disadvantage of following this approach. And then last but not least, managing applications of standards. So if there are some standards, you have to follow that. I think I already covered those. Yeah, this I didn't cover. So testing is exhaustive. So you always have to think about business value of testing, and then uh, it's very important that it should be optimal. And then there are like three testing approaches. One is outsource. What is outsource is you are just giving testing work to some other independent company, and they are making sure the testing part of your product. So in this particular approach, the main important aspect is communication. Are you able to communicate properly or not to that third independent party? And some protocols should be followed, and they should understand that, yeah, it is really, really important. And then second is distributed testing, where like one or more companies are involved. So you have to just think about that which approach is best for you, and then you have to select one of them. And third is insourced, where developers and testers are on the same roof, and they are testing actively, and nothing is outsourced. So every approach has its own advantage and disadvantage. So based on software complexity, you have to follow that. Then third is managing application of standards. So there are a lot of standards in place. So again, if you are developing a simple e-commerce website, then you need not to comply with standards. But if you are developing some banking applications or some health related applications, then you have to showcase that you are following all these test practices, and 99.99% your product will be functional, and maybe 100% sometimes. Then this is the normal workflow. So it's the example of agile methodology, where uh, the work is divided in small sprints, and you are just focusing on only one part of full product. So there are like multiple roles. Product owner, so what product owner is responsible for that, how what kind of priorities he would like to give to the in the product, and he creates a product backlog. So what is product backlog is a list of features he would like to see. So he will not write all these requirements all together in one go, but in some chunks. And then he will just prioritize some feature out of product backlog. And then you'll just sit together. So there are three users. One is PO, one is dev team, and third will just try to think that how you will think about one feature, and then you will write a user story. In user story, you write all these acceptance criteria, what features should work, and then based on that, you will create a list of user stories. And the next stage is team will develop those, and you will say that, yeah, these are in implementation. Then you will develop those, and then dev will showcase the feature to test, and then they will test all together. Then the whole team will test this particular product, And in this whole process, they will execute tests and they will follow all these test management practices, which I already mentioned. And then finally, this tiny feature will be added to a final product or the product which is already developed. And then this review. So I think review is also plays very important part, because if review is not happening effectively, then it creates a lot of problems. So you have to always see that reviews are proper. And then you also have to follow review matrices, and you have to perform formal reviews. So these are like main highlights of review. And what is defect management? So defect management is like how you are delivering the defect reports to the important aspects, like what is the defect life cycle and how it is complying with software development cycle, because they also have like pressure to implement the software in parallel, and also they have to handle all these defects. So this plays a very critical part sometime. And then you have to finalize defect report. And then these are important aspects, so this should also be think when you are thinking about quality assurance. So this is a defect life cycle where there are different states, and the end state is closed. So these all are interaction, or like for example, tester will create the defect in new state, then it will be open, and then it will be assigned to some development team or developers. And then once they fix it, then you will again test it. If a defect is not like fixed, then again you will reopen it. So this is a usual defect life cycle. Then test tool and selection. So you have to think about automation as well, because sometimes you test all these things very regularly, and hell lot of manual testing effort is involved in these practices. So you should always think about automation, and then you have to think about selecting correct tool. And this is the last aspect, the people skill. So you have to evaluate that what skills are required in order to follow all these test practices. For example, like automation skills, and then you have to perform load testing and performance testing. So these aspects are really important, and if it is not available within your team, then you have to think about developing those skills. Also, like what organizational activities or what organizational think about testing in general. And sometimes, like when you are involved in these testing practices, then you have to just keep your team motivated. And communication also plays a very important part. So these are important aspects which should be covered in test management practice. Yeah, this is last slide. So if you have any question, then I can address.
Very enriching and learned session it was, Vivek. Thank you so very much. In fact, I, being not very much into quality, was able to understand all the concept, the things you have said: PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. I think that's the biggest learning from all the sharing. As a management faculty, I expect my students to at least implement this PDCA in their learning aspect. They can very well plan their academics and beyond academics things, and they can uh, at times follow all these four steps even in their projects they are doing during their learning program, and to the small assignments also. And believe me, dear students, whatever we are learning, if we try to implement it in our day to day activities or projects or assignment, I think we are able to implement all the things. Before we move further, I would love my students to ask questions, whatever doubts those are coming, although confident that things are clear, it's Vivek. But any doubt, feel free. Whatever you want to say to sir, Vivek, the chat box is filled with thank you, sir, thank you, sir. And there is one question on how do PDCA work, asked by Navtesh.
Yeah, I think it's all about problem statement. So if there are some problems, you will just ask a question, and then you will just think about that how you can solve that problem. So and then you will just develop those things, and you will try out some things, because PDCA cycle is iterative cycle. So it's like it might be possible that you're not able to solve that problem in one iteration. So it's like four stages, and you have to iterate one by one.
Perfectly, very well said. Vivek, please stop sharing the screen. I would love to have a group photograph of all my students with you. Stop.
Sure.
Yes, perfectly. Dear students, can you please switch on your video so that we can have a group photograph at the end of this webinar? And if there are still queries, feel free to connect to Vivek. Vivek, can you please share your email ID? If
Sure.
there are doubts, they can connect to you. Students, can you please switch on your video? Uh, yes, we would love to see you and very professionally sit across. Uh, Now, this is your final attendance of the session, believe me. So tell it to all your friends who, because of whatever reason, are not able to connect. Virinder, ask your friend on the back to please clear the screen. All my student Nikki, Gautam, Diksha, Sakshi, Tejaswi, अपना फटाफट से कैमरा ऑन कीजिए बेटा जल्दी से. All dear students, so that we can click a pic with sir. So what I'm able to understand, PDCA's plan, do, develop, check and act. So think about a problem, then develop your act, whatever is you are able to do. Very nice, do it fast. And then very important is check and then act. And it's not only one cycle, as Vivek said, it will be series of cycles. Keep on doing the things till the point you are able to achieve the results. I think that's the gist of the session. And very well and very rightly, Karan, Sushma, Akshit, beta jaldi se siya, फटाफट से कैमरा ऑन कर लीजिए.
Also, PDCA is not like stick to quality assurance. You can it's all about like what problem you have, and based on that problem you can just divide it.
यस, परफेक्ट परफेक्ट. आप लोगों की अटेंडेंस इसी से मार्क होगी. फटाफट से आपके चेहरे दिखेंगे तो हमें पता लग जाएगा हु इज देयर इन द सेशन. सो जल्दी से बेटा. वेरी गुड, ग्रेट, वेरी नाइस. So happy to see. Now we can click. Thank you, Vivek. This is a perfect click. I think now the screen is complete, and I'm so happy to see Nikita, uh, you all, Madhvi, Sushma, Vishali, those who are on my screen right now. Now, perfect. Great. Can I see a smile on all of your faces? Yes, a cheerful face. Great. So thank you so very much. बेटा ये जितने भी सेशंस हैं इनमें शायद तुम्हें कुछ चीजें कॉम्प्लेक्स लग रही होंगी. से हमारी लर्निंग होती है. एटलीस्ट हमें पता लगता है कि व्हाट कॉर्पोरेट वर्ड इज ऑल अबाउट, व्हाट इंडस्ट्री इज डूइंग, हाउ टू कंट्रीब्यूट, राइट. एंड जितना हम सुनेंगे उतना हमारे अंदर अवेयरनेस आएगी. जितनी अवेयरनेस आएगी उतना हमारे अंदर क्यूरियोसिटी आएगी कुछ नया करने की. and that's the beginning of a new learning. So, from the core of my heart, Vivek, I extend and hold my heart hands for you, extending gratitude on behalf of all my students. We are thankful to you from your early morning. You have grabbed some time for us. And I was observing you, आदत नहीं रहती कॉर्पोरेट में लेक्चर्स और सेशंस लेने की, तो आपका गला सूख रहा था. आई वॉज एबल टू मेक इट आउट, बट it was a beautiful session, wonderful, enriching, value added. At least I learned a lot from you. So we would be looking forward to be with you for various assignments, for various upcoming things. We would love to learn from you, Vivek. Thank you so very much. Some student has asked, there are some technological reason I'm not able to share my video. Okay, perfectly fine. That's
I think
perfectly fine.
I
That
think
was
they
a
are
private
asking.
message to me by
Okay.
one of my student. So dear student, would you like to extend anything to sir? Yes, thank you sir, thank you so very much. और कुछ छोटी सी चीज भी अगर एक वेबिनार से हमें सीखने को मिल जाती है तो वेबिनार सक्सेसफुल हो जाता है. और देखिए सर की जर्नी इंडिया से जर्मनी तक, और आज वो अपनी कंट्री को इतने बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म पे एक्सप्रेस कर रहे हैं. आप देखिए इनके काम को ही सल्यूट है, और उस काम की वजह से वो इंडिया से जर्मनी पहुंचे हैं. तो बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस होने चाहिए थे आपकी तरफ से, और कि सर आप जर्मनी में कैसे पहुंचे, क्या प्लेटफॉर्म रहता है, कैसी लर्निंग होती है, क्योंकि आप लोग भी अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कर सकते हैं बेटा, राइट. सो आई थिंक I enjoyed your session, Vivek, and my students too have enjoyed. सीखने की इच्छा हो तो कुछ भी मुश्किल नहीं है, एंड देयर इज नो एंड टू एनी जर्नी. सो किसने कितना सीखा वो उनकी, कहते हैं ना, एक बड़े अच्छी हिंदी सेइंग है कि पात्र को देख के ही पात्रता डाली जाती है. तो जिसमें जितनी लर्निंग स्पिरिट होगी उसने उतना जरूर सीखा होगा. अच्छा लग रहा है मुझे कि आप हमारी छोटी सी रिक्वेस्ट के साथ हमारे साथ कनेक्ट किए. विवेक, हमने आपका बहुत सारा समय लिया. Thank you so very much. Over to you if you want to share anything, Vivek.
Thank you very much for attending this session. Feel free to contact me if you have any question, and all the very
Vivek,
best for your future.
thank you. Vivek,
Keep trying.
if there are some projects where my student could be a help, maybe a small assignment, it would be a privilege for me and my students. आपकी कोई भी ऐसी एक्टिविटी, छोटा सा प्रोजेक्ट हो, इट्स नॉट अबाउट any stipend or anything, but it is all about learning. And I assure you, my students will give more than 100% on those platforms. Please give my students an opportunity to help if they could. That's my earnest request to you at the end of this webinar, because
Sure,
if my
Prerna.
student will get some platform to explore their hidden talent, I think the journey is successful. With these words, thank you dear students for being here. Thank you Vivek, बहुत मजा आया, बहुत अच्छा लगा. Thanks to all of you, and
Have a
I'm
nice
closing
day,
the meeting.
guys. Bye.